A recent Pew survey discovered that 73% of people who never attend church or seldom attend church see conflict between science and the Christian faith. But the question is that necessarily the case? Is there truly conflict between science and Christianity? I'm joined today by Dr. Cynthia Cheung, who's an astrophysicist, and a Christian who's going to help unpack this question. Dr. Cheung, I think many people might be surprised to discover that it was a Christian worldview that laid the foundation for the emergence of modern science. And so I'd like to get your perspective on just how important the Christian worldview is for science, not only because you are a scientist and a Christian, but also because you come from a Chinese background and you have familiarity with Eastern religions and the Eastern worldview. So what is unique about Christianity that laid the foundation for science?
I came from a very different culture. I was brought up in really a Chinese culture. And I often wonder, why science did not fully develop in China, whereas a lot of the initial technologies like printing, like the explosives, geometry, all these things had the initial development in China, but never flourished and blossomed like in the West. And I came to the conclusion was that partly the culture didn't encourage the kind of development, and partly it was because the philosophical thinking. In Christianity, we believe that the world was created by a creator and everything was good. So we have this foundation to actually search and discover the nice things that God has created for us. So it's okay to actually explore and discover the physical world. Whereas in the East, in the Eastern philosophies, the perception of reality is much less objective. People look at physical things as if they may not be real. Because, for example, in Buddhism, Buddhism addressed a lot of suffering because the Chinese, a lot of East Asian countries went through a lot of suffering. So they want to address the question of suffering. And they think suffering is due to a lot of desire for physical things. And so they essentially want to do away with physical things and essentially empty ourselves of the desires of the physical things and say if you don't perceive them as real existence, there's no more of this kind of desire, and so you won't suffer. So the end result is that they want to empty themselves of all these, so they don't want to even touch the physical things. And so ultimately, they just let everything be, and nobody would have the incentive to actually go and discover and explore the world. They went inward and just go into the inner self to discover and try to be connected to this mystic, force outside of themselves, so that they would not be suffered because of these physical things. So it actually affected the entire development of the technology and the science. And in the ultimate thing is that the country as a whole actually did not advance. And a lot of human suffering resulted in that. Like there's no development in medicine and a lot of scientific technology which help the whole world nowadays. And so it's very interesting. The more I look into it, the more I think, the cultural thinking, the idea of how you perceive the world is very important. If you don't have that foundation and say it's okay to actually discover and look at the world as something real and something that could be studied objectively, you would not go into it.
Yeah, well, of course, now today, science is very important in China and other countries in the East. So what's going on there?
They wanted to catch up with the Western world. They all of a sudden discover that, you just concentrate on philosophy and literature and humanities. That's not good enough. And so when I was growing up, anybody who's any good has to go into science technology. We're not allowed to go into literature, arts, and the things because, because we are backwards because we have been only concentrating on the old things. So they encourage us. There's a very strong impetus for us to go into science technology. All my brothers and sisters, all my schoolmates, almost invariably, they study science and technology.
So it's really the influence of the West is what you're saying that is shaping the viewpoint that science is important in countries like China.
Yeah, because they see how advanced like America, the West is compared to they're more backward, and I say the developing countries, and they see technology being the drivers. And when they came to the United States or the Western world, they all of a sudden see, why. They always ask why. And a lot of times we tell them, you know why? Because there's fundamental difference. It's not just a religion. It's something that affects the worldview, and because we know the true God who give us this view of how we should explore the world that he has created. And these are laws that he has set out in the beginning. If you discover what he has done, you can utilize it for the betterment of mankind.